CNN aviation analyst Mary Schiavo joining me now via Skype from Charleston, South Carolina, to talk more about this unsettling incident. I mean, I think I speak for most of us when I say I'm simply shocked and quite frankly angered when I look at this video. It's really upsetting to hear the screaming. You hear the voices in the background saying this is wrong. And the passenger, I mean, he was dragged off like he were a criminal. Wasn't there a better way to resolve this overbooked situation, Mary?
Oh, absolutely. The better way to resolve this situation would have been to follow the federal aviation regulations, which would have required and which encourage the airline to continue to up the bid. So if no one wanted to get off the plane for $800 voucher, they could up it to $1,000, et cetera. And in this case, an involuntary denied boarding would have resulted in a payment, and the passenger can demand it in cash or check on the spot of $1,350. So the airline was trying to get off cheap. This wasn't even really an overbooking situation. They were trying to move crew members. It's clear it happened at the last minute because ordinarily they know up front before they board how many crew seats they need. So it's clear what happened here is 4 crew members showed up the last minute, said we got to get on this plane, and I've seen it. I've been at the gate in Charlotte 2 months ago, and I heard some crew members come up. Gate agent said, "Do you want me to kick some people off?" Happens all the time.
I mean, it's just poor planning because, again, if they knew that they were going to need 4 seats, why even allow these people onto the plane and then tell passengers, hey, 4 of you need to get off, volunteer?
Exactly. But I've been on planes where that has happened. It's very poor planning and it's very poor performance by the gate agent. Now, sometimes things happen at the last minute, but the government encourages the volunteer method to keep upping the price that they will pay to get people off the plane. And eventually they will. Because now think about it here. Say that you have 4 involuntary denied boardings. You've got the plane wouldn't get there if you, it depends on how fast they can rebook you. But in this case, they couldn't get there within 2 to 4 hours. So they would have been owed $1,350. If they checked a bag and they get separated from the bags and they need to buy things, the airline can owe each passenger up to $3,500. And if they bought a seat or extra leg room or early boarding, the airline must refund that. So the airline was trying to avoid possibly paying up as much as $5,000.
Yeah, trying not to spend more money than they have to. And we should mention, by the way, Mary, that a spokesperson for United Airlines spoke with our CNN's Renee Marsh, and 4 crew persons they're saying were needed to be on this flight to get to Louisville, Kentucky, or that Louisville flight would have been canceled, and they chose the route that would decrease the most impact, the impact the most. But of course, ironically, this story now is going to have a big impact on the airline than they had hoped to see happen. So I guess my question is, how does the airline choose who they kick off their overbooked flights? Because it sounds like this happened randomly, or they were randomly chosen, even though I think the spokesperson was saying that we do our best to make sure that we keep families together and unaccompanied minors from being taken off these flights.
Well, once again, the federal government has suggestions, not rules, but they say that the reasonable things are if you show up to the airport on time, who's first on the plane, what your fare was. And there's a subtle encouragement not to break up families, never to displace an unaccompanied minor. There's considerations on the handicapped persons, but I've seen all these rules broken as well. But usually it's who's there first, boarded, paid the higher fare. And, if you're traveling with a group, they tend not to do that.
And just quickly, I mean, did the passenger in the video, have a right to say no? I guess the question is, what are our rights as passengers? I'm sure a lot of people would say, listen, I have to get to a funeral, or I have to be in surgery tomorrow morning. I have really important things to do. What are our rights?
Well, unfortunately, and it depends how you look at it. Once you're on the plane and they didn't do remember, it's called denied boarding. It's not called denied seating. And so once you're on the plane, you have a reasonable right to expect that you're going to go, that they handle all this in the terminal before the plane's all boarded. But unfortunately, you have to comply under federal aviation regs again. You have to comply with the commands of the air crew. So what he needed to do was comply with their commands, but as soon as he heard what was happening to him, demand under the federal regulations that his compensation be paid in cash or check on the spot. that would have probably put him back on the plane because the gate agent doesn't have a checkbook or $1,350 in cash.
Well, now we know, and I'm sure that gentleman didn't know that as well, had he known.
And the rules change all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that video is just so upsetting to watch. It's obviously horrible PR for United Airlines as well. Mary Schiava, always good to get you. Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Thank you.